The information discussed in this PILCast episode are merely opinions and do not constitute formal policy or legal guidance of any kind.
Hello and welcome to another PILCast, the video blog where we talk about important procurement concepts in 10 minutes or less. We guarantee it. I'm Scott Simpson.
And I'm Trevor Wagner.
Today, we have a special episode for you. We present the Monday Morning Court-erback.
Oh, wait. I don't think that's the right music. But I guess it's close enough.
Hey, it works for me. In this special episode, we're going to dissect a recent decision from the Government Accountability Office with a kind of sports-themed look back at the highlights. While sports analysts go back and point out what should have been done better, so do our courts and various oversight bodies. So we have natural parity. We have an MMCB written series where we analyze concepts, snippets, and stories from recent bid protest decisions. And this topic was just released for volume 19. So we wanted to share it with you all. And today's matchup is a good one. We had a company challenging the Department of Labor's decision to give it an unacceptable rating on its prior experience submission. We'll talk about that, past performance, and much more.
Now, no matter what you're buying, prior experience can be a great evaluation factor to consider. In a phased approach, prior experience is a great phase one factor to evaluate whether a vendor has performed work in the past similar to the work you're requiring in your requirements document. Now, would you really go get a root canal from a dentist who has never done one before?
Not me. Now let's take a look at how the Department of Labor evaluated prior experience and past performance as separate factors in their solicitation to build the Gulfport Jobs Corps Center, a construction services requirement under FAR Part 15 contract by negotiation with a small business set aside.
Now, the GAO plainly states that generally, an agency's evaluation under an experience factor is distinct from its evaluation of an offeror's past performance. Experience factors focus on the degree to which an offeror has actually performed similar work, whereas past performance factors focus on the quality of the work performed. And that's a straight quote from the decision, so thus the quotations.
That's right. The Department of Labor took that into account as they were building their procurement strategy, and they had separate factors for prior experience and past performance. The solicitation language included under the past performance factor stated that vendors without a record of relevant past performance would receive a neutral rating. But there was no such language included for factor one, prior experience.
Wait a minute, Scott. Flag on the play. Neutral? Surely that isn't what the FAR says about it.
Well, we'll get to what the FAR says in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at what happened after our protester entered the game.
Well, the protester was a recently formed company made up of executives who used to work for the eventual awardee. They admitted in their proposal that they didn't have any directly related experience in the last 5 years, but that their proposed project has a team of wealth of individual past experience, which will allow the protester to successfully execute this project. So what did the Department of Labor do with the information and the evaluation?
Well, for factor one, prior experience, the protester was found to be unacceptable. But for factor two, past performance, they were found to be acceptable or neutral.
But wait, doesn't the government have to evaluate them as at least only neutral for both?
Well, that's what the protest argued, but the GAO wasn't buying it. Rejected. First, the GAO found that the FAR recognizes a difference between prior experience and past performance. In FAR 15.305, they discuss both past performance and prior experience as two distinct evaluation factors.
That's right. And next, the decision cited FAR 15.305 that provides, in the case of an offeror without a record of relevant past performance, the offeror may not be evaluated favorably or unfavorably. But here, the GAO noted that there is no such provision in the FAR regarding the evaluation of an experience factor where the offeror has no record of prior experience.
Right. And finally, the GAO concluded there is no requirement for the agency to evaluate the protester as neutral under the project experience factor protest denied. That's that. So what are some best practices or maybe some plays if you're thinking of using past performance and past experience in your next evaluation factor?
Well, first, remember that prior experience and past performance are distinct. Just because you use prior experience as an evaluation factor doesn't mean you have to use past performance as well. Now, past performance is only required in evaluations of non-commercial procurements that fall under Part 15 and is over the simplified acquisition threshold. Also, if it's commercial, our decisions have told us we have discretion of whether to include it or not as an evaluation factor.
That's right. Second, if you do use both prior experience and past performance, consider breaking them up into two separate evaluation factors. This way, if a vendor without experience submits a response, they can be evaluated accordingly under both factors. Another best practice is to have the vendor provide past performance for the projects it referenced earlier under prior experience. That way you can evaluate the whole picture. Remember, if DOL had lumped both factors into just past performance, which is extremely common, then they would have provided that single rating with an acceptable neutral and awarded to a company with no experience providing the work.
That's right, Scott. We have the discretion and creativity to put together evaluation approaches that are custom fit to each procurement. Finally, consider requiring vendors to provide short, focused prior experience responses. Don't just require vendors to describe your corporate experience as it pertains to Statement of Work sections 2.1 through 2.8.3. Instead, require vendors to describe your corporate experience in providing the most complicated part of the requirement or the hardest area to procure. This makes the response easier to focus for industry, easier to evaluate and discriminate among the proposals, and much, much more meaningful overall.
Well, that's all we have today. I hope you enjoyed this special edition of PILCast, and we'll see you next time.